Welcome back to episode 7 of D3, Dominici's Discussions and Debates, your source of discourse, discord, and everything in between. I'm your host, Dominici Lapierre. Today is November 29th, 2025, and I'm joined by Dakota Inman of Lake Placid, New York. Inman's a middle school English teacher at Ausable Valley Central School and a high school wrestling coach. He was even my former high school wrestling coach. Thank you for being here with me, Coach.
You got it, buddy.
It's great to have you. I think we're going to have a really good time here. So, you were born in Baldwinsville?
Liverpool. Neighbors of Baldwinsville. Pretty close.
Neighbor of Baldwinsville.
Middle of nowhere, like central New York. Yep.
So then you went to Oneonta. So you've lived in Oneonta, Liverpool, and now Lake Placid.
You got it.
What was Liverpool like compared to Lake Placid, where you live now?
And Liverpool is a wild place. It's really big town with a lot of people. I graduated with 750 people.
Damn. So in your graduating class?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I grew up in a place where there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people where you don't really matter. Whereas, like, you go to a school like Ausable, people are going to know Dom Lapierre for the next 20-something years. You go to my high school, I don't even know if my teachers remember my name. You're just kind of a number.
How many kids were in a class?
Like 25 to 30.
Damn.
So totally different dynamic than where you grew up and where I work now. But the cool thing about growing up in Syracuse is I went to school with every race, every gender, every socioeconomic status. My high school is a really big melting pot, so it helped me learn a lot about people and where they come from.
Would you say you prefer Baldwinsville, Oneonta, or Lake Placid regionally, just in regards to the area?
I mean, honestly, North Country, man.
Yeah.
North Country's great. I mean, obviously, I like playing in the mountains, but it's just a more peaceful place to be. I like it up here. Okay,
and I only know a lot about you. Do you have any siblings?
I have a twin sister. She's a first grade teacher up in Potsdam.
You're both teachers.
We're both teachers. But I did it first. She copied me. If you're out there, Bree, you copied me. You know that. And I have an older brother, Randy, who lives in Denver, Colorado.
What's he do?
He's a salesman. He's a business guy. He sells tech equipment. He started off with Samsung. Now he sells tech equipment to hospitals.
Oh, okay.
So, big salesman guy.
Okay, I mean that's pretty neat. And so you were born and raised in Liverpool,
yep.
And you attended Liverpool school in high school. What about your upbringing in elementary and middle and high school? Do you think any of those experiences or interactions with teachers made you want to become a teacher?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually. The woman that wanted me to be a teacher, or kind of inspired me to be a teacher, she lives in Lake Placid now. She's a teacher there now. But I was really lucky. When I was in high school, I got to be in a journalism class with her, and I got to help teach writing as a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grader. So I got to kind of learn and enjoy it as a kid. I got to coach. I got to coach a little bit. I used to help out with the modified kids when I was a varsity wrestler, help with the Pee Wee kids. So all those experiences growing up kind of led me to where I'm at now, for sure.
And does that kind of feed into why you chose English as opposed to a different subject?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Just from when I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a journalist. And through being in a journalism program in high school, I learned that I cared less about the writing component, more about helping other people find their voice, helping other people say what they want to say the way they want it to. And it really appealed to me.
And, you went to Oneonta, and I believe you studied adolescent English and special education?
Yep.
Why also special education? What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was coming through school, it was we're kind of in this weird spot where in 2008, there was all these layoffs, so people were worried about jobs. So first and foremost, the special ed piece was like a saving grace for if I ever got cut for budget cuts. I'd always have a second option. But additionally, like when you go through the education program, you take like 2 classes on special ed, and you don't really know everything you need to know. So getting a master's helped me be able to teach everybody in my room, no matter who they are.
Okay.
And I think it gives me a better perspective with the kids I'm working with.
Have you ever had to step into a special ed class and help, or no?
No, not necessarily. I do teach. 2 of my English classes are CT, which means I work with a special ed teacher, where more than half of our kids are special ed kids. So inadvertently, yes, but not
directly.
Yeah.
Okay, and this one wasn't this is just something that came to my mind. You, as a teacher in the North Country, you give a lot of books with an emphasis on diversity. Mm-hmm. What is that like? Because I know you felt a lot of pushback before, mm-hmm. from an administrative level and a student teacher level. So what's the kind of thought process behind that in assigning these books and then with dealing with the pushback?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, a lot of literature that we read, the protagonist is always a white street male all the time. And living in the North Country, that's just, there's a lot of kids who are limited point of views. So if I can use my classroom to teach them about, people from different backgrounds, whether it be race or socioeconomic status or what have you, like I can bring them to a different world that they don't live in, and hopefully make them more empathetic and set them up to be more open-minded in their real life.
Yeah, and students in middle school are very malleable. It's a very developmental stage in life. Was that why you chose middle school, or was there a reason you chose middle school as opposed to high school?
No, I love middle school, man. I've had opportunities to go to the high school. I feel like malleable is a good word. Middle schoolers are still ball of clay. You can still mold them. You can still change their mind. I feel like high schoolers are a little harder to tap into. Middle schoolers still, they're like a roller coaster, man. Every day they're really high, they're really low, they're really emotional. They're fun, and they listen, they still care. And sometimes I feel like high school you don't have that as much. You might be able to do more, but I think it's harder to make a difference. For sure.
No, 100%. So, when you graduated, let me go back to before you graduated. You went to Oneonta. You were studying this. You were a college wrestler. You were a multiple times Dean's List recipient or honoree. How did you balance high marks with such an time-intensive, and then physically intensive sport as wrestling?
Yeah, I think something I always say when kids are thinking about being college athletes, I tell them college sports are great because it gives your life structure. Kids go to college, and for the first time in their lives, they don't have mom, dad, grandma, grandpa telling them what to do, when to do it. And I think for me, like being on a college team gave me structure where I'm going to my morning lift. I'm going to practice. After practice, my teammates, we'd have a group study at the library. And I think it really it forced me, whether it be managing my weight or lifting, my training schedule, it forced me to find time throughout my day to hammer stuff out. If you only got 2 hours between practice to get your stuff done, it's going to get done. So I think for me, like being a college athlete helped give structure to my life at a time where a lot of kids kind of blow up because it's not structured, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and basically, like, I think a lot of people do kind of they're not benefiting from the free time, I notice. Because then it gets spent doing dumb stuff, and it gets spent, barking up the wrong trees and going down the wrong path. So I could definitely see that, but it is tough. It is a really tough path to take. But like you said, I think it helps with I think I also need the structure. I think it's a necessity to stay away from, stupid stuff and things like that. Because so many kids fail out, and I've never understood. So I think more kids fail out who don't have a sport and aren't in any clubs and have no, obligations. They have, no time obligations. And they have more time to do their work. They have more time to relax. So I don't know what it is specifically about that. I don't know if you have a thought, but you know what I mean? I noticed that a lot, like you said.
Yeah.
Way more.
Well, you look your freshman year, you look around those dorms, they're a little empty your sophomore year. Kids flunk out, they struggle getting in a routine. And, for me, and part of it too is I feel like student athletes, you want to do well in wrestling, but you're also competitive in the classroom. I was super competitive in the classroom. I wanted to be on the Dean's List, so you just make it happen.
Well, it's also weird because college is such a weird position your freshman year because literally 1 week in a 2-day span, less than a day span. Move-in is like a 3-hour span at Castleton where I go. So you wake up living with your family, and at the end of that same day, you're alone. You're an adult.
Yep.
Living with another person your age.
Yep.
In the span of 4 or 5 hours. Like,
Yep.
And that's a weird adjustment for some people. And I think that's why college, like, not everyone obviously, but I think that's why college kids are so blindly indulgent.
Yeah.
And there's so much alcoholism.
Yeah.
And there's like, and I'm not against marijuana by any means, by any means, you know that. But like, it's so indulgent. Some kids smoke it so often, like all day. Some kids drink all day. And I don't know if it's because you're like abruptly a child and then you're an adult without supervision.
No one's going to say no.
100%. It's crazy to me how blindly indulgent people
Until
can
you
be.
indulge too much and find out the hard way.
And I think that's why wrestling helps me, because I'm a very blindly indulgent individual, but I don't do anything. Like I don't want to name drop. I won't name drop, but I have some teammates who still kind of have workarounds. They do like, edibles or Zins and things like that, but like I don't do anything at all. It's near season, in season, I stay away from anything, even loopholes, like even things that I don't think would hurt me, I don't touch. And I think that helps me a lot to keep me grounded. And I also don't think it's I don't think it's a bad thing if you're a stoner, but I don't think it's healthy to be high all the time.
No.
To not be able to, like, if you have a problem being sober, like if being sober is a bad thing for you, I don't think that's a healthy state of life, which college is crazy. Like it's so normalized, And it's just weird to me. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I tangent, but to get back on track, your father owns a construction company, Inman is it Inman Construction?
You got it.
Why did you not want to take that over? Most people will work in their family's business, but you became a middle school English teacher, not a carpenter.
My whole dad's side of the family is very blue collar. My uncle used to own an auto shop. My other uncle owns a carpet business. My dad owns a construction business. My grandfather owned he sold houses for a living. It's funny. All the Inman men that I grew up around were blue collar. I think growing up, I worked with my dad's in the summers and the weekends, and when you're in blue collar work, sometimes you kind of learn. You're like, man, this is tough. Like I don't know if I want to do this for 50 years, And I think like that experience working with my dad just helped me learn that that. Sometimes it's okay not to work for yourself. It's okay not to be your own boss. Because, I could have taken over the business, but I got to see the flip side of it too. When you're the boss, you're working on Saturday. You're working on holidays. You're working, So to work for New York State now, and, I'm on break right now. I'm getting paid. Yeah. I'm getting paid to take a week off, you know, and that's kind of awesome. So
did he try to get you to?
No, my dad's a very open-minded guy. Actually, my dad wanted to be a teacher when he was younger. And he never really pushed me to kind of do the construction thing. He just kind of supported whatever I was into. He supported all my sports ventures. My dad never wrestled a day in his life, but he came to every tournament, every dual meet, everything, and just a supportive guy.
Well, that kind of feeds into my next question then. You've been wrestling for quite a while. How old were you when you started, and why did you start?
So it's funny. I didn't start till middle school. I started in 7th grade. I was in the cafeteria, and our varsity football coach, Coach Mancuso, was just kind of walking around. He was the varsity football coach and the modified wrestling coach, and he was just marching around, and he just kind of pointed at me. He's like, "You'd be a good wrestler," and that's really all it took. And I think at the time when I was in middle school, I just, going through puberty, I had really high testosterone. I was angry all the time, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And wrestling was a space for me to kind of work that stuff out, which was funny because at that time I had a weird dichotomy. Like I was in Boy Scouts, like Joe, polite, goody two-shoe boy, but on the other hand, go to practice and kick the crap out of guys. So it was kind of a way for me to find balance,
So that's wild. Do you know why he picked you? Were you like an athletic kid?
I mean, it's just I feel like I have a pretty classic wrestler build, the same one you have. I'm 5'7", 5'8", short, stocky, leggy. Good low center of gravity, which I think a lot of wrestling coaches would agree. That's like that's what a middleweight is. So
yeah. How'd you end up coaching then? Because you coached right after you graduated.
Yeah.
You went right to Oneonta Middle, right?
Yep. So my junior year of college, I got 3 concussions in a season, and the trainers kind of grabbed me and were like, "Hey, we think you should be done." I was like, "Done for the year?" They're like, "No, like done." So going into my senior year of college, we kind of had that choice to make of like, should I be focusing on my health or should I wrestle 1 year? And ultimately, I decided that I didn't want to mess with head injuries. And at the time, I had done some work at Oneonta Middle School. I was doing my methods there. I was doing observations there for stuff, for schoolwork. And I met the varsity wrestling coach, John Nealis, and he invited me in the room. And so my senior year of college, I started working in the room. And that way, that following year when I got a job there, I got to go work with the modified kids, get that experience, and then soon after start working with some of those high school kids that were my former students, and then they became my wrestlers. And it was a really good opportunity for me because, I was around coaches that have done it for a while, that cared about me, that wanted me to do well, and helped me kind of build my foundation as a coach.
Was modified there an extension of varsity practice, or was it its own?
So we were there. So Oneonta doesn't have a wrestling room. Our main gym is huge, and they put divider doors up. And the modified teams on one side, there's a dividing wall, and the varsity teams on the other, which is kind of nice because it's kind of an open door, so the coaches can kind of filter from side to side. It was a good opportunity for me to learn from the guys I was working with.
How large was that team then for your first group ever?
Man, my first modified team I worked with, I think we had 28 to 30 kids.
Wow, that's crazy.
We had a lot of kids. It was great. So their varsity coach, John, he's the phys ed teacher in the middle school. So they have a wrestling unit in middle school. So he'd get kids, right, 7th, 8th grade, never done it in their lives, and be like, "Hey, come try this." He used to do this event called the Royal Rumble, where he'd have every elementary school student in the district come to a wrestling tournament. So John was really good about getting kids excited about it in elementary school and phys ed class in middle school, and as a result, we had a lot of big modified teams.
Did that transfer over to varsity at Oneonta?
Yeah, I would say, you probably keep half of them. The difference is, I think Oneonta a little bit bigger than Ausable. So we'd lose kids, but I think it translated numbers-wise. And those kids ended up having a lot of success from that competition, man. There's a lot of kids in that room pushing each other.
So then I'll preface my next question with an exposition question to kind of make some sense of it. How did you end up at Ausable Valley then? Why didn't you keep teaching at Oneonta?
Yeah.
You had a pretty good thing going on there.
Yeah, so, I think in my early 20s, I was on a big hiking bender, and I hiked the 46, so I was up in the Adirondacks almost every other weekend, and I kind of hit this point in my life where I was in Keene Valley and Lake Placid almost every weekend the entire year. And when you're on the Northway for 3.5 hours every Friday, every Sunday, your brain starts to wonder, like, what am I doing? What do I value? Do I value work or do I value play? And, the longer I was in Oneonta, and I love Oneonta. I mean, that town has been so good to me. The people in there are amazing. So I have so much gratitude for that place. But as I kind of entered my mid-20s, I just kind of realized that, I wanted to create a life for myself where I can be outside every day. I love hiking. I love mountain biking. I love canoeing. I love snowboarding. I love skiing. And I wanted to create a life for myself where I could do that every day, which, as you know, is what I do, So when I was 25, I was like, I'm going to started applying, and I applied to all these schools up here, and it was fun. I'd never even heard of Ausable Valley ever. And my former teacher, who inspired me to be a teacher, she moved up here, and she was friends with a guy named Bill Frazier, who reached out and was like, hey, we got an opening. And long story short, I was here not too long after that.
Was that after Miss Brown retired?
Yep.
Okay. So, then to follow, how did you end up, I think I might know this already, but then how did you end up as the head coach of Ausable Valley?
Sometimes the best things in life happen on accident. When I left Oneonta, I didn't think I was going to coach. I thought that part of my life had ended. And our athletic director, Kevin Holbert, I got hired, and I think like a week later he's on the phone. Hey, man, I heard really good things. I think you should coach. And I was like, I'm good. And then that summer I was backpacking for 6 weeks, and I kept getting a call. And, when we got into school in the fall, I started to meet some of the kids. I met you. I met, a couple of 8th graders, kids like Jaden Burgess, Warren Prey, Logan Air, kids that were interested in wrestling. And honestly, the kids kind of talked me into it. And been having a whole lot of fun ever since. I'm really grateful that happened.
So how many calls did you get from Holbert?
Oh, at least 8 to 10.
Really?
It was wild. I mean, he was like my crazy ex-girlfriend, hit me up like, yo, and he had called my old school. He talked to a coach that I used to work with, so he was fighting for it, but he got me.
What similarities do you notice between the skills that need to be applied in the process of teaching and coaching? Because they're essentially the same thing. One's just academic and the other's athletic. Yeah.
Same objective, very different process. I feel like, it's the same process of I do, we do, you do, right? I'm going to show you something. We're going to do it together. Now you're going to do it, right? I do, we do, you do. The process being a little different, in school. I feel like in school I have a very calm demeanor. I try to be very kind and patient, and my wrestling coach persona is a little different. But same objective, just get there a different way.
Okay. And, how do you handle in a classroom a kid who's not receptive versus in a wrestling room a kid who's not receptive to your means of, coaching and teaching?
I think, step one is you find common ground with them. Kids don't learn from people that they can't relate to. Kids don't learn from people that they don't feel like care about them. So for me, step one in my classroom in the wrestling room is I'm going to show kids that I care about them and that I can relate to them. And then once we're there, the door opens, and we can do a lot. So for me, if a kid's not being receptive, it tells me that I'm not doing a good enough job of making them feel comfortable and welcome and, open for feedback.
Okay. And, especially, it's probably a lot harder, I feel like, in a wrestling setting because you have to balance it. It's such an intensive sport. You have to balance, compassion with sternness.
Yeah.
Which objectively feel like two conflicting emotions.
Yeah.
Even though in reality I don't feel like they really are.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can be both.
Yeah.
So has that ever been a problem for you?
Every single day. Every single day I work on that, because on the one hand, you want kids to feel like, hey, I care about you. I want you here. I'm listening. I see you. But on the other hand, I got to push you, and they're both forms of love. They're just different, come out in different ways. So I think balancing that good cop, bad cop, I feel like when I have older teams, I can kind of lean towards that bad cop a little bit more. My younger teams, I usually have to be a little softer just to kind of get that buy-in. And that's something I work on every day. There's been years where I've been too nice. There's been years where I've kind of been too stern. And those years that I'm too stern, half the team quits, and I end up looking like a jerk. And then there's years where I'm too soft, and it shows in the matches. So it's it's definitely a balancing act. I care about you, and because I care about you, I'm going to push you and get everything I can get out of you.
Something else you do that not many other teams do is you typically do 1 to 2 different mandatory community service events a year with the wrestling team. Mm-hmm. And I noticed you also won, I don't know if it was one or multiple, but you did win service awards at Oneonta when you were there. So, I mean, what's the thought process behind that, and why the emphasis on giving back to the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think gratitude is such an important life skill. I mean,
Fitting it was Thanksgiving yesterday.
There you go, right? Like, I feel like so many people, they look at life in this negative way of, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. When the reality is, like, you have so much. And when you have so much and you give it back to people in your community and people in your lives, not only does it make their lives better, but it's going to give you a better perspective. And for me, like you think about our high school wrestling team, like the reason we have wrestling mats and equipment and room, the reason I have a salary is because the taxpayers of this community pay for it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if they're giving all of this to us, why can't we give back to that? We got, this community that cares about us, that shows up for us. Like when we have a home meet at Ausable Valley, like last couple of years, that gym's pretty full. And if we can take a couple days to give back, whether that be, our annual toy drive with the town of Jay, or simply just showing up at modified and peewee events and helping coach and helping facilitate those tournaments, helping facilitate practice, like all that is just giving back to a community that fuels us. It's for me, it's like it's a cycle, right? You help me, I help you, and it makes where we live a better place. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, 100%. And I'd like to preface, Thanksgiving was 2 days ago. I'm an idiot. It's Saturday. It's the 29th. But
turkey must have been good.
Something like that. We're not going to worry about my weight yet. Not going to worry about the weight right now. But I noticed that too at Castleton. We have to do, I think, 3 or 4 mandatory events a year, and they get us for hours. We do the Spartan race, and we do like an 8-hour shift. We run tournaments, and we do 11. They keep us from like 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. when we run our fall tournament, when we run our spring tournament, and then we do a lot with Casella over in Vermont. What is it? We do Wheels for Warmth. We do the sledding night in Rutland. They completely block off the Rutland, the main street hill, and they put like artificial snow on it. They like make snow and then pack it on the hill, and like hundreds of kids come, and then they sled down the hill, and we run that like we do like 4-hour shifts, half the team. And we run it we run it all night. So, I mean, and it's one of those things where like when you're a freshman, you're like, dude, this shit sucks. And you're pissy about it. And then you kind of see, when you're a junior and a senior, you see the fruits of it. And
it helps you buy into your community. When I wrestled for Oneonta, we did this, a 10K every year, the pit run. And it's all based around, there's a police officer that got shot and killed in duty, and that his family turned that into this giant fundraiser. And, when I was in college, I was like, I got to run a 10K. But then when I started working in Oneonta, I actually worked with that police officer's sister, and I get to see, like, what they did with that money and how they used a tragedy to fuel a community. And, like, I felt like a part of that. And I think when you get kids involved with community service, they just feel like they're a part of their community, which is going to make you care about where you live. And, when you're on the mat and that Ausable Valley name's on your back and it's on the mat, you're going to care a little bit more because you're letting your community that you care about down. At least I think so.
100%. And it's a good way to it's a good philosophy to hold, especially when applying it when you're in a position like teaching, and because you have a very important position as a teacher and as a coach. Like we said, the group that you work with specifically, the age range you're used to working with, is very malleable. Very malleable. If you can make, even a slight difference in the thought process and ideology of a child, you change the trajectory of their entire existence, which is kind of crazy when you think about how many different teachers you're going to have. Like, you're going to have 20 to 30 different teachers, maybe 50, 60 if you go to college. If you go to college, it's going to be a lot more. If you go to college and you double major, you might even push 70 different teachers and professors from kindergarten. So when you think about that, and I mean, yeah, high schoolers and college kids are less malleable, but you still make a huge difference. And I think more in college than high school, honestly. I think more in college because that's when you're actually becoming an adult and developing. And it's just crazy. And to move forward with some of your recreational stuff, like you said earlier, you touched on it a little. You're huge into outdoor stuff, mountain biking, skiing, snowboarding. So, first off, I'd like to just go down the list. How'd you get into mountain biking or skiing and hiking? Which did you start with, and how did you develop into the others?
Yeah, I grew up, with my family camped a lot, in particular in the Central Adirondacks near Racket Lake. And so I spent a lot of time in the Adirondacks as a kid. And then that kind of turned into, Dad, I want to do Boy Scouts. And then Boy Scouts turned into we're camping a lot, which evolved into starting to hike some high peaks. I think when I was 10 or 11 years old, our Boy Scout troop went and hiked Cascade and Porter, which are two of the 46 high peaks in the Adirondacks. And then the next evolution is, I'm going to do all those. And then I turned the 46 into, I want to hike every mountain over 4,000 feet in the Northeast. So I did that. And then it was, all right, well, now I want to go live in the woods for a month. So I hiked Colorado Trail, the length of Colorado. And then you get home from that, and you're like, okay, I'm kind of sick of hiking. What's next? And then you buy a mountain bike. And so for me, I just feel like, I love, my dad used to always tell me, you got to have the courage to suck at new things. And I love trying something new, struggling, working through it, climbing that mountain literally or figuratively, and then being like, all right, I did this. What's next? So, for me, my outdoor life is it's just a constant progression of what can I do next to push myself to go do some gnarly stuff, and have fun while you're doing it.
So about 3 years ago, you broke your hand mountain biking, right? Yeah. How did that happen, and did that kind of throw a wrench in your skiing and snowboarding that winter?
Yeah, so I got a perilunate dislocation, which is a wild way of saying this bone on the inside of my hand ended up on the outside of my hand. So
that's awesome. That's good for your health.
Ligament damage, tendon damage. I couldn't move my fingers for 7 months. I couldn't zip up my pants for a long time. So yeah, I was at Killington Bike Park, not too far from Castleton, and I was with my good buddy Mike. He's so great for me, pushes me. But that day we were hammering big jumps, and I just decided that day that I was just gonna send it, and I hit a couple big jumps on this trail called Black Magic. Those of you guys in the Killington area know what Black Magic is, and hit it 3 times, and the 4th time it hit me back.
Weren't you trying to record it or something?
Yeah, my buddy had a GoPro, and he's like, "Oh man, we gotta do it one more time with Spirit. We're gonna get it on video," and we sure did.
Do you have that film? Does he still have that?
Oh, it's film? There. It exists. There's a lot of obscenities. Yeah. Yeah, that was tough.
That's great. Did you ever rewatch the film?
Oh yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, you can kind of see where my hand posts out, and you can almost see the bone just kind of make its way through my wrist.
If you don't mind me asking, how did you handle that? Did you get up and have to walk out of the park?
Yeah. So, I was dumb. So when I landed, I thought I was fine. I've fallen a lot in my life. It's just part of being a combat athlete, I guess. But my helmet was cracked. So I stood up, took my helmet off, and I was like, oh, shit, I shouldn't be moving. So I, laid down. My buddy comes riding by, and he's like, oh, no. And I was like, yep. And he's freaking out. I was actually the calm one. I was like, here, we're going to call, Killington has, essentially, their ski patrol number. It's, their 911 for the mountain. So they brought me out on a stretcher on a 4-wheeler, which was wild.
You got your bike back.
Got the bike back. The bike was fine.
Okay, the bike was good.
Fine. Yeah,
Well,
that's the important part.
Well, that would hurt too. Broken hand, and now you're paying all that money to fix it.
Yeah.
That just insult to injury.
Bike was chilling.
Sorry to put some lemon juice on the wound, but
Yeah.
Also, isn't this passion for outdoors? Is this part of the reason? You moved to Lake Placid, which is big on skiing and snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the specific kind of guider to move to Lake Placid?
Yeah, I mean, I loved Lake Placid my whole life. Actually, my parents did their honeymoon there. We did Christmas here all the time. So I kind of grew up romanticizing the North Country. And, in my 20s, I'm here every weekend. And, yeah, I just have a deep, deep love for this area and all the fun stuff I can do here. So made me want to live here. And here we are. Now I'm buying a house. So
Where?
We're here in Keene.
In Keene?
I'm here and I'm gonna be here.
Keene?
Yep.
Do you like that area? Have you been around the area to see if you would like it? How do you feel about the area?
I love Keene.
How far is that from here?
Heart of the High Peaks, like 20, 25 minutes.
So a little
bit closer. Yeah.
How far is your current drive? 40?
Yeah, like 40 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's a little bit closer.
Closer.
Easier for you. Is that closer to Peru, or is it opposite way?
Other way.
Okay.
Closer to like Elizabethtown and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say I think I see the exit sign sometimes when I'm coming back from Queensbury, but I'm terrible with geography and direction.
Yeah. That's that exit. You got it.
And you said you did the month-long hiking trip.
Mm-hmm.
You want to elaborate? Do you do that every year? Because I know you do it once every year or two.
Yeah.
It's a several week-long hiking trip. Is that Colorado or Utah?
Well, so kind of on a bender for 6 summers. This summer was the first one I haven't in a while, just because I was saving up money for house stuff. But yeah, it started that year before COVID. I decided that I wanted to hike the Long Trail in Vermont, which is the length of Vermont. So we went out and did that, and that was 2-3 weeks, and I kind of was I want more. So the next summer I was in Colorado, hiked Colorado Trail, which goes Denver to Durango. That's 600 miles, 6 weeks, long time. And yeah, really since then, it's just every summer I'm just kind of looking for a place to go backpacking. And, for me, it's always been teaching and coaching is great, but it takes a lot of mental and social energy. So I feel in the summer, I just want to flush whatever stuff's going on. I feel a lot of kids, and I work with a lot of kids that got a lot of stuff going on at home, and it's hard not to bring that home with you. So the summer, I just try to let all that shit go. And for me, backpacking and, being out for a long time kind of gives me the space to do that.
How does that work when you're backpacking for 2 weeks to a month? Do you have to buy food from place to place? Are there stores, or do you pack the amount with you and it just gets lighter as you go along?
That's the fun part, man. You try to link it together town to town. So for example, when I did the Long Trail, we went from the border to right around Killington, and we went in Rutland. So you're out for 5 days. So you bring 5 days worth of stuff, you hit Rutland, you get more, and you go. And then the next progression, I don't remember where we went after that. You just kind of go from town to town. And some days it's a 7-day carry, which is heavy. Some days it's a 3-day carry, but you kind of just bounce town to town.
Okay. And that was a hiking?
Yep.
That was all walking?
Yep.
How long was that again? I'm sorry.
Long Trails, 273 miles. That should be all you Castleton kids. That should be your senior project.
Yeah.
Go see your state.
That's great.
It's a really good state. Go see it.
It's a beautiful place, Vermont. It is a very beautiful place. I should take more advantage. That's something I want to do, especially after I graduate. I want to try to do the high peaks.
Yeah.
Because I do think I should take. Because I've lived in the Adirondacks my whole life, but I haven't taken advantage of it.
Yeah.
Especially in regards to being a part of that, like just having enough.
It's the biggest state park in the country. You grew up inside of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy because it's kind of like people who live in Paris, France. Like to them, like the Eiffel Tower is just there.
Yeah.
But to anyone else, seeing the Eiffel Tower is like a memorable life event.
Yeah.
So like it's weird. It's weird to me that like so many people come from around the world to see the Adirondacks. Like, people come from up in Canada. People come from literally, like, Mexico, from Europe. And because to me, it's just a place. Yeah. It's just, to me, like, Poca Moonshine and all these things are just mountains. I mean, like, they're just places because I see them all the time. Yeah. And I forget sometimes the significance of it. Like, it's crazy. I didn't even realize that it was the largest state park until, like, 2-3 years ago. Someone told me that. Yeah. Yeah, I was like 16 or 17 when I realized it was the largest state park in America. Like, I never knew that. That just didn't even click with me. And it's crazy that, like, it's not hammered. I don't think it's hammered into the kids around here nearly enough. And I don't know if that's a cultural thing or what it is, but, like...
I think everybody just kind of appreciates, it's classic, right? You don't appreciate what you have till it's gone, It's classic. I mean, I grew up in Syracuse. I thought... the Carrier Dome and Destiny, I thought that was all just normal, but turns out not everybody lives near one of the biggest malls in the country. Yeah. But I did. So for me, I was like, this is dumb. And then, like, I talked to kids in school. They're like, oh, my God, we're going to go to the mall in Syracuse. I'm like, it's just the mall, right? But people are like that.
And you commented on this earlier a little bit, the Boy Scouts. You are an Eagle Scout. So why'd you join the Scouts? And then what was that like? And then to follow that, what were the most challenging and rewarding parts of the process to become an Eagle Scout? Yeah. And if you could elaborate on what that process looks like, because I'm a little unfamiliar.
Yeah. I got into Boy Scouts really young. I think I was 5 or 6. And it was just all grounded on, I love being outside, and I love camping, and I love, and that, like I said earlier, like that passion has just kind of evolved in my life. And Boy Scouts gave me an opportunity to do that a lot. And I'm really, Boy Scouts is funny. It really comes down to, like, who's in charge. And the people that were in charge of our troop were really good about making it an authentic boy-led troop, which for me was huge because it taught me, I was learning leadership skills at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 that, like, I use every day, and you asked about, kind of like the progression is there's all these different levels, right? You start with your tenderfoot and there's a list of requirements, right? And they range from leadership skills to outdoor skills. And then there's these things called merit badges, and you have to get X amount to progress. But ultimately, you get to your Eagle, which is you have to create a leadership project. So you have to go out in your community, find a problem, and go fix it. And you have to facilitate and lead that process, which is what I do on a daily basis now, right? You find issues in my classroom and the wrestling room in our community, and I go lead and I go fix it. And that all started when I was a teenager. It's one of those things, I've always been told, like, your Eagle Scout's the one thing you can do at 15 years old. It'll be in your life. It'll be in your resume for the rest of your life. And it still is. And every interview I've ever had in my life, it comes up, and it means a lot to me. And I know it's funny, man. People that aren't in it, they're like, oh, it's just the nerds in the woods. But it really is, like, for me, man, like, I learned leadership skills that affect my life every day.
What was the hardest part of that process? Probably the leadership project?
Yeah, it's funny, like, and I think you could relate to this, right? Like, some people, like, when you're trying to learn how to be a leader, you kind of think it's just going to go smooth and it's going to be easy, right? And then... It's not, right? Like, I think about, to talk about you, like, I think about sophomore year Dom, right? I'm going to be the team captain. Oh, crap, I can't talk to everybody the same way. Oh, crap, this kid is really good on his feet. But he's really, like,
there's all these obstacles along the way, and you need to adapt your personality with different people in different ways to get that outcome. Like I think about, like my Eagle project, we reworked this hiking trail in Highland Forest, and in my mind, I was like, this is gonna be easy. Nope. Like I had a range of kids, ages 11 to 18, who I had to motivate in different ways, who I had to speak to in different ways. Which again, that's what you do as a teacher and a coach, right? The way I motivate Dom Lapeer is a very different way that I motivate other kids,
Yeah.
And when you're learning how to lead, that's when you learn those soft skills of how do I talk to this person? How do I motivate this person? How do I articulate my words to make sense to this person, So I think for me, the hardest part was just learning that you treat everybody fairly, not equally, right? I'm gonna treat you all fairly, but not necessarily give you the same thing, if that makes sense.
Equity, not equality.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm a very strong believer in equity, not equality.
Yeah.
And it's also like, I'll ask this then. What is the most challenging part? Is it the same thing for being a teacher and a coach?
Absolutely. I mean, like, listen, man. There's kids. It depends. It's reading the room with the kids. Like I've worked with kids like you, Don, that I could scream till I'm blue in the face, and you are gonna run through a wall because that's who you are, and that motivates you, right? And there's kids like that. If I talk to other kids like that, they're gonna cry and quit and go home. So yeah, I mean, it's that daily obstacle course of figuring out who are these kids, how do I motivate them, how do I get the very most out of them. And it's learning that personality while there's 30 kids in the room, trying to figure out how you're going to talk to everybody and get the most out of them.
And then what would you say out of your three things that I'll say in your life, coaching, two, coaching and teaching, and then even we'll even go back to the Eagle Scout thing. What are the most rewarding parts of those processes?
Yeah. For me, it's seeing kids overcome obstacles they didn't otherwise think they could. Watching people progress. I think about wrestling is such an easy example because you see kids. Wrestling is such a mental sport. I work with so many kids that struggle to believe in themselves, right? And to watch a kid climb that mountain, overcome that, and believe in themselves it's the best feeling in the world. We were down at the state tournament last year, and I worked with a kid that he really struggles with self-belief, and he never, despite his size, despite his athleticism, he just doesn't, you get this feeling he doesn't feel like, that he's earned it, and to watch somebody overcome that mental hurdle and then be like, wow, I just did something really cool. That's a really awesome feeling, for sure.
We have a mindset coach at Castleton, Coach Jason Spector, and he talks about that a lot. They call that the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
We talk about that quite a bit because, we work, in my opinion, I think D3, D2, D1, I think our work ethic as a team, I think we challenge a lot of D1 teams with how intensive we are, how many men there are. Like, I genuinely believe, because we beat many low-tier D1 teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not going to say we could take Penn State. I'm not going to say we could take Iowa. But, I mean, we beat piss out of LIU.
Yeah.
We beat the piss out of Brown backups when we faced them.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. We're not going to worry about it. But we beat up Sacred Heart pretty bad. I mean, not that they're golden standard, but we beat a lot of D1 teams. And we still have this thing when we get to hard matches where, like, a lot of our guys just don't seem to have the faith. And it's weird because, like, even I noticed this for myself. If we count cardio, core, and lifting, if we count all the different workouts, I think I work out, like, 20-plus times a week. Mm-hmm. And I do recovery, like, 10. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why do we do all this to not believe in it?
Yeah.
What's the point? Why are you waking up at 5 a.m. every day? Why are you drinking 2-3 protein shakes a day? Why are you watching what you eat during the season? Why are you, like, managing your weight so that you're only cutting a few pounds and you're not cutting 10, 50. Like, why are you doing the extra steps to not have the faith in yourself? Which is a weird, and I think that's in everything, because like, how often does a kid study and still get nervous before a test? Even though they studied. You studied. You did what you were supposed to do. Why are you nervous? You knew the information. You did the flashcards. You reviewed. You paid attention during the notes. You saved the notes onto your computer if the teacher posted them and reviewed them. Why do you still get nervous? And I think that's the biggest thing. Imposter syndrome. I notice that so much in all aspects of life, not even athletics, like everything. And I think that's just an inherent human thing. That self-doubt. Like, yes, I've done it. Yes, I've done what I know I've done what I need to do. But how do I keep myself in perspective that translates into success? Not the hypothetical thought of success, which is crazy to me. And I mean, for you as a coach, it's probably different now because you've been on both ends. You've coached and you've been an athlete. It's probably different now. But it's got to be a good feeling to see a kid overcome that. Because, I mean, I get that feeling when I see a Pee-wee kid win a match, let alone watching a kid I've coached place at the state tournament. Or let alone watching a kid I've, beat someone who placed before. Like, it's just that's got to be a crazy feeling,
Yeah, and a lot of times when those kids, like, I always, when I go to graduation and stuff, I try to get that mental image of who that kid was when I met them and then who they are now, and it's pretty fulfilling stuff.
That's also got to be a weird one because you kind of, like we said, you see kids in a very malleable state. So especially, you've been here, is this your 4th year?
It's my 5th year here.
5th year,
Oh,
wow,
man.
Wow, yeah. I was a sophomore, that's crazy. But yeah, especially this group, because you had them fresh from 8th grade. That's got to be weird. Because you literally saw them develop into young men.
This group's going to be tough. I got a group that's been here since I've been here. I've never been in that room without them. That'll be,
Makes you gotta feel old, don't you?
I feel old every day. I mean, I still roll with the kids, and there's some days I get up, I'm like, oh, shoot, man, I'm not 25 anymore.
Coach Ashline said that. So someone was asking him to roll, and he said, why don't you give me a few minutes to breathe?
Now I got to stretch, and
As we wrap up and conclude here, I'll ask you something I typically always exit with. If anyone listening who checks this out, if they could remember anything from this, it could be, wrestling related, life related, whatever, what would you say to them? If they could take away any 1 to 2 points from this entire thing, let's say they forget everything, what would you want the one thing they recall to be?
Well, I got 3 pillars as a teacher and a coach that at the end of the day, I hope they all take home. I believe everybody needs to have grit. Everybody's got to be tough. Life's hard, and you got to have the grit to work through it. That's number 1. Number 2 in life, you got to be a problem solver. You can't be a victim of your circumstance. You got to be a problem solver. And my 3rd pillar is you got to be a good human, right? You got to be somebody that leaves a good impression in the world. And if you have grit, you're a problem solver, and you're a good human, you're going to live a great life. And I hope that all my athletes, all my students, all the people I spend time around feel that and learn that from me in whatever way they can.
It's beautiful. Thank you very much. This has been Dominici Lapierre and Dakota Inman for episode 7 of D3, Dominici's Discussions and Debates, your source of discourse, discord, and everything in between. Thank you for being here with me today, Coach Inman. Really appreciate it. You awesome talking points. And please consider checking out our Instagram account at D3 Radio and Podcast, all lowercase using the number 3, not the word. Also consider subscribing if you're watching right now on the YouTube channel. We post re-uploads, exclusive interviews like this one. This one won't air live. You'll just be able to find it on here. And then access to our pilot episodes. We do air live via the platform TuneIn Radio and on the website tunein.com, all lowercase, or the mobile app TuneIn Radio, sports and music. We typically air 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, though we're still trying to work out a second airing time each week that's consistent. And stay tuned on the Instagram for weekly schedule updates. Thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully I'll see you all again very soon.